Spider-Man and an Iron Man come together.
We make sandwiches.
In the dim light of a kitchen long after midnight, a man stands alone before the dying glow of the stove. His hands are scarred, his eyes relentless. The same eyes that once terrified young chefs and electrified millions on television. He's shouted, cursed, and demanded perfection from everyone who's ever stepped into his kitchen. But behind every outburst, behind every flash of rage, lies something far deeper. A lifetime forged in pain, pressure, and impossible standards. This is Gordon Ramsay, the man who turned fury into focus, who transformed from a poor boy in Scotland into one of the most powerful chefs the world has ever known. Yet even legends have cracks beneath the steel. What drives someone to chase perfection so fiercely it consumes everything else? Friends, family, peace itself. To many, Ramsay is the fiery face of discipline. But behind that fire is a boy who swore never to be weak again. Tonight, we peel back the layers of fame, fury, and forgiveness to find the human beneath the heat. Before the fire, there was the cold. Gordon James Ramsay was born in 1966 in the small Scottish town of Johnstone, a place where winters bit hard and dreams froze easily. His family didn't have much, and what little they had was often consumed by chaos. His father, Gordon Sr., was a man of big promises and violent tempers, a drinker who chased dreams that never came true. His mother, Helen, worked long hours as a nurse, trying to hold the family together while her husband tore it apart. Young Gordon grew up in that storm, learning that silence was safer than speaking, that perfection was the only kind of peace. Food at first wasn't passion. It was survival. When the house filled with shouting, he'd escape into the kitchen, watching his mother cook, mesmerized by how order and care could exist in a world that felt broken. It was the one place where he could control the outcome, where effort created beauty, not anger. He dreamed of escape. First through football. By his teenage years, he showed talent, discipline, and drive, earning a spot with the Glasgow Rangers youth team. But fate intervened. A devastating knee injury shattered that dream forever. For most people, that might have been the end. For Gordon, it was ignition. That injury became the moment the fire started. The fire to build a life no one could destroy, to prove that control, mastery, and greatness were possible, even if love and peace had never been guaranteed. The boy who ran from chaos would soon learn how to command it, not with fear, but with fire. When one dream dies, another demands to be born. After football slipped away, Gordon Ramsay found himself lost. A young man with too much energy and nowhere to place it. He washed dishes in small kitchens, unsure of his path, until one night he watched a head chef move through chaos like a conductor before an orchestra. The clang of pans, the rush of orders, the rhythm of knives. It wasn't noise. It was power. Ramsay wanted that control, that order, that fire. He enrolled in culinary school in North Oxfordshire, where his talent quickly became impossible to ignore. He was fast, precise, and utterly unrelenting. What others saw as stress, he saw as purpose. By his early 20s, he was working under Britain's most feared and respected chef, Marco Pierre White. Marco was a genius, but also a storm, and Ramsay was the lightning trying to survive it. The lessons were brutal. Nights without sleep, humiliation, perfection demanded in every cut, every plate. Many broke under the pressure. Ramsay didn't. He absorbed it, molded it, and began to forge a discipline that would later define him. From there, he crossed the Channel to France, training under Guy Savoy and Joël Robuchon, legends whose kitchens were temples of precision. Ramsay learned the art of elegance, how patience could elevate raw ambition into mastery. Those years burned him, refined him, and hardened him. He wasn't just learning to cook. He was learning to survive, to transform pain into excellence. By the time he returned to London, Ramsay wasn't the boy who left Scotland anymore. He was a weapon, forged by chaos, tempered by hunger, and ready to carve his name into history. London, 1998. The city was alive with ambition, And no one burned brighter than Gordon Ramsay. After years of grueling training in Europe's toughest kitchens, he opened his own, Restaurant Gordon Ramsay in Chelsea. From the very first service, it was war. Precise, intense, relentless. Every dish had to be perfect. Every second mattered. The air itself felt charged, as if the kitchen were a living creature powered by discipline and fear. Within just a few years, Restaurant Gordon Ramsay earned 3 Michelin stars, the highest honor in the culinary world. It was not only a triumph, it was an explosion. The boy from Johnstone had become Britain's most celebrated chef, the symbol of perfection. But Ramsay wasn't done. He wanted to bring that same fire beyond the kitchen walls. Television became his next battlefield. Boiling Point, Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares. Shows that turned him into a global phenomenon. Viewers watched, captivated, as he tore apart failing restaurants and rebuilt them from the ashes. To the world, he was the angry chef, a man who turned rage into results. But those who truly understood knew it wasn't just rage. It was a demand for excellence, born from years of chaos and pain. Behind the shouting was a teacher. Behind the fury, a perfectionist who believed that if he could turn broken kitchens into greatness, maybe he could redeem something broken in himself. By the mid-2000s, Gordon Ramsay was everywhere: books, restaurants, shows, endorsements. He had built an empire of flavor and fear, adored and feared in equal measure. But the higher the flame rises, the darker the shadows it casts. Success had made him untouchable, and isolation followed. For the first time, Ramsay's empire wasn't the only thing under pressure. So was the man himself. Every empire, no matter how powerful, eventually cracks under its own weight. By the late 2000s, Gordon Ramsay's name was everywhere. 20 restaurants across the globe, television shows in multiple countries, a fortune built on perfection and performance. But behind the cameras, the pressure was suffocating. The same obsession that had fueled his rise began to consume him. He was no longer just running kitchens. He was managing an empire, and every misstep made headlines. His temper, once entertaining, became a target. The media called him the kitchen tyrant. Former employees described him as impossible, and rival chefs mocked the very perfection he had once inspired. Then came the financial blows. Business partners turned against him, lawsuits piled up, and his once ironclad brand wavered under public scrutiny. Even his family felt the tremors. His marriage with Tana faced public strain, while tabloids fed on every rumor, every argument, every flaw. For the first time, Gordon Ramsay, the man who never backed down from anything, found himself surrounded by chaos he couldn't control. There were nights when the shouting stopped, replaced by silence. He looked around the empire he built and realized it was costing him everything that once mattered: peace, trust, and balance. But pain has always been his greatest teacher. And like every great chef knows, sometimes you have to burn something before it can become truly extraordinary. Ramsay would not stay down. The same fire that nearly destroyed him was about to forge a new man, one wiser, calmer, and stronger than the one the world thought they knew. In every great fire, there's a moment when the flames die down, and what's left decides whether to turn to ash or light again. For Gordon Ramsay, that moment came quietly, not on television, not in a kitchen, but at home, surrounded by his wife, Tana, and their children. He began to realize that the empire didn't define him. His family did, and for the first time in decades, Ramsay chose to slow down, to cook not for critics, but for connection. The world saw the transformation. The angry chef was still fierce, but the rage had been replaced by something deeper: purpose. He started mentoring young chefs, opening opportunities for those who came from nothing, just as he once did. In MasterChef and Next Level Chef, he pushed contestants hard, but with compassion. He wasn't tearing people down anymore. He was building them up. Off camera, he devoted time to charity, supporting organizations for children's hospitals and culinary education. He began sharing his story not as a warning, but as proof that failure, loss, and imperfection are part of mastery. even his tone changed. The bark softened into guidance, the glare into wisdom. And slowly the world began to see what had been there all along. Not a tyrant, but a teacher. Ramsay rebuilt his empire not on fear, but on legacy. His restaurants flourished again. His shows reached millions. And through it all, the man who once yelled, "It's raw," began to show us something more rare. That true perfection is cooked in patience, not fire. He had found balance, not in silence, but in understanding. Few chefs have ever transcended the kitchen the way Gordon Ramsay has. What began as a pursuit of perfection became a movement, a revolution in how the world viewed cooking, mentorship, and excellence itself. With over 17 Michelin stars awarded across his career, Ramsay didn't just build restaurants, he built standards. Every plate that left his kitchen carried his philosophy. That greatness is born from discipline, and passion means nothing without control. But his true legacy isn't just in stars or television shows. It's in the chefs he inspired, from the fiery young cooks who once trembled under his glare, to those who now lead their own kitchens, guided by his lessons. They learned that pressure is not the enemy, it's the crucible that creates diamonds. Through Hell's Kitchen, MasterChef, and Kitchen Nightmares, Ramsay turned cooking into global storytelling, making culinary art accessible, thrilling, and deeply human. He brought the beauty and brutality of the kitchen into living rooms around the world, showing that behind every perfect dish lies sweat, heartbreak, and triumph. Beyond fame, Ramsay redefined the image of the modern chef, no longer hidden behind closed doors, but front and center, unapologetically passionate. His fire changed the world of food forever. And though his empire spans continents, his greatest achievement remains the same. He made millions believe that excellence, in cooking or in life, is earned, never given. As the years went by, the roar of the kitchen began to fade, replaced by the quiet hum of perspective. Gordon Ramsay, once defined by his fury, now speaks of gratitude, of family, of balance. He often says that fatherhood changed everything. Raising 5 children taught him lessons no Michelin kitchen ever could: patience, empathy, and the art of listening. The man who once ruled through fire now teaches through warmth, often seen laughing with his kids, cooking simple meals, and reminding them that failure isn't defeat, it's direction. Ramsay's reflection on success has softened too. He admits that perfection is an illusion, that true mastery lies not in never making mistakes, but in never repeating them. He's learned that leadership isn't about fear, it's about trust, and that kindness, when paired with discipline, creates something far stronger than control. He's also learned to give back. From mentoring underprivileged youth to supporting hospital kitchens and food charities, Ramsay's energy has shifted from dominance to legacy. His fire still burns, but now it warms instead of scorches. Looking back, he knows the journey was never just about food. It was about turning pain into purpose and proving that even the fiercest storms can lead to calm seas. If you learn how to steer through the fire, the kitchen is quiet now. The lights dim, the flames flicker low, and the man who once shouted over the roar of chaos stands still, watching the last ember fade to gold. Gordon Ramsay's story isn't about food. It's about fire, the kind that destroys, and the kind that defines. He learned that mastery isn't born from control, but from understanding. That perfection isn't the absence of mistakes. It's the courage to keep creating after you've made them. From the cold streets of Scotland to the heat of the world's greatest kitchens, his journey has never been gentle, but it has always been real. The boy who ran from violence became the man who conquered it. Not by shouting louder, but by turning his pain into passion, his rage into reason. As the final shot fades, his voice returns, calm, reflective, human. Perfection isn't the goal. Passion is. Because when you love what you do, the fire never truly dies. And somewhere in that silence, the flame of Gordon Ramsay keeps burning, not to destroy, but to inspire.